Michael Jordan is widely regarded as the GOAT. But unfortunately, there's one major problem. With competition in the 90s that resembles your local home goods manager, it was no surprise that people had their doubts. But today that changes, as we take the alleged GOAT, Michael Jordan, and put him on the Chicago Bulls in the modern day NBA. Whereas only a rookie, he was already proven to have some skill sets that would aid him in this era. Most notably his elite level of athleticism, using his speed and vertical leap to attack the rim effortlessly in a shooting league that tends to stretch paint defenders out to the perimeter. And while the rest of his game wasn't quite polished just yet, his ability to get to the basket and beat the defense to score allowed him to put up some already impressive numbers for a guy in just his first year, ultimately leading him to unanimously win the Rookie of the Year award. Although for Mike, there were aspirations for much bigger trophies, like the thought of winning an NBA championship, which would be one of the 3 requirements that we'll be using to determine if Mike can have success versus modern competition. The only problem being, the road to that goal would be packed with multiple hurdles.
I don't fear nobody, dog. I don't care if you...
Connell, pick and roll, Morant.
Oh, my word! Nothing can put me out of my path. So.
Since I was a kid, I've always been confident in everything I do.
Utah, Edwards gets it back.
Luckily for Mike, he was joining a Bulls team who weren't exactly great, but had some decent pieces to put around him. Kobe White was a great shooter coming off his best season of his career. Vucevic was an offensive-minded center able to space the floor from long range. Lonzo Ball was an amazing pairing, setting up MJ for easier baskets. And finally, Zach LaVine was an all-star with a very similar skill set to Jordan, altogether resulting in a respectable record for home court in the postseason. But having home court would only help them so much in round 1. They were up against Joel Embiid, who has notoriously been a thorn in the Bulls' side, only losing to them twice in his entire career. And he wasn't alone, also paired with podcast host Paul George, who helped lead his team to a quick 1-0 advantage, which looked like it could be quickly knotted back up in game 2, with a LaVine outburst of 41 points to go along with a very strong 24 from Jordan in only his second game of playoff action. But even that wasn't enough to secure a win at home. As he's done so many times before, Embiid was taking the hearts and souls of Chicago fans and silencing the crowd with an unreal performance, and I was having doubts about the rest of the series. As a Bulls fan, I've seen this far too many times against the Sixers. I don't think there's any way that Chicago ends up winning this series here. And even though for the remainder of round 1, Michael Jordan was playing very well, outperforming his regular season averages, there still seemed to be zero chance of outlasting Embiid. With Vucevic being a defensive liability more often than not, Chicago had no way to slow down the 2023 NBA MVP, who was easily leading the charge past the Bulls. Meaning Mike was walking off the court a loser, but had full intentions to change that soon. During the offseason, Jordan wasn't only working on his personal game, but he was forcing his teammates to join him in the gym, and while his teammates questioned his intensity at times,
it's tough, man. A motherfucker dropped me off on the freeway one day. Yeah, it was crazy, but it's all love because I understood how much he really wanted it.
At the end of the day, Mike just had a determination to win, and going into the season, it could pay off. Right from opening night tip-off, the difference in Jordan's game was noticeable. His work in the offseason will help him increase his points per game by an extra 3 a night, which would make him the Bulls' leading scorer. His finishing was still the highlight of his offensive arsenal, but his jumper from the mid-range was becoming more and more consistent every game, finding creative ways to score up and around defenders, establishing himself as the go-to option for the Bulls late, which will result in major highlights being all the talk of social media.
He gives to Jordan. Jordan to the circle, puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over, and the Bulls have won.
With the numbers and efficiency we were seeing from Jordan, it was looking safe to say so far that he had a place in the modern era NBA. His elite scoring fit right in with a high-paced, offensive-based style, and he was taking the league by storm, landing himself in the spotlight of the media and earning some high praise.
This brother is looking special.
However, as great as he's been, he's yet to prove himself by reaching any of our goals. But with him leading his team to the first seed, he'd have a chance in the playoffs.
Galabon guy, diamonds on me, blue just like the ocean. Serving that white girl on the corner, bought a platinum roller, sent a bird call. Niggas don't be coming through here, torch my swagging court. Side trip the referee on this morning. Love my princess cuts, love my high performance. Ain't gon' trust them slugs, better get naked. Don't count my money, Eliante solitary. Sell not these and come from Johnny. Jet black, double R with a bunny. Clock, double C's, pushing up with the low. Put your socks on
like that, in year 2, MJ is already leading the Chicago Bulls out of the East. But in his first finals appearance, Mike was facing his biggest challenge yet. Anthony Edwards is viewed by many fans as the modern-day Michael Jordan, with many similarities to Mike's style from real life. With a couple more years of experience than our MJ in this sim, it would be a wildly challenging matchup. Ant was fully locked in, still eager to earn not only his first ring, but the first ever for Minnesota. Mike, on the other hand, was trying to solidify his legacy by winning in the modern NBA to justify his claim as the GOAT. The quicker he can win a ring, the quicker he can get back to gambling. So it would go without saying, he was bringing his A game here in game 1. But unfortunately, outside of Mike, the others on the team struggled. Minnesota had a great defensive unit, and it resulted in a lot of difficulties, giving enough of a cushion to the Wolves for them to steal a huge game on the road. And with the team now facing a deficit, they'd look to their 2 stars to keep them afloat. Starting off with LaVine, who in the first half was scorching hot from everywhere on the court. Bucket after bucket, he kept coming back looking for a heat check, and was exactly the boost Mike needed from his second option. This additional scoring on the roster opened things up for Jordan, who was hot himself in this major game too. With the risk of falling 2-0 at home, there was a lot riding on this game. And in the biggest moment of his career to date, Jordan was stepping up in the biggest way possible, with a huge performance carrying his team to the win. But things were about to get even more difficult, transitioning to Minnesota for game 3. In an attempt to take home court advantage, Ant-Man was playing his best basketball so far in this match. With all eyes on how the stars of the matchup would perform in a pivotal game 3, it was Edwards who was separating himself as the brightest star. Matched up 1-on-1 with MJ, Ant was the clear winner here in this game, and was getting his team to a major lead. But this series wasn't close to over just yet. Mike was ready to bounce back. He came into game 4 trailing in the finals, yet he was completely unfazed by the circumstances, playing effortlessly like this was a regular season game on a Tuesday in November. It was like nothing fans had ever seen before, but at the same time, it was a masterclass. He just wasn't missing, and trip after trip down the court, the Bulls would entrust him with the ball. But while games 1 through 3 have all been one-sided affairs, this one was far different than the others. Just the same as MJ, Ant also couldn't miss this game. He was just as locked in as we saw in game 3, and instead of the final buzzer sounding with one side clearly outclassing the other, this time around as we near the final buzzer, a winner was far from decided. The Bulls in possession late, and the score neck to neck. Down the stretch, the results of this game are completely up in the air, with the Bulls trailing the series 2-1. Patrick Williams draws the foul and 1! With Williams and 1 converting, the Bulls are now up by 2 with the Timberwolves having the ball. Mike Conley with it, the aged veteran. He's like 49 by now. He's got the ball. Kobe White guarding him. They throw it down low to McDaniels. Anthony Edwards not getting a touch. McDaniels forces it. He gets his own board. His putback gets off. He gets it again. He kicks it out. Julius Randle for 3. Oh, it's off. I thought for sure that shot was dropping. Kobe White in transition. Patrick Williams from 3. That's off too. The intensity of that moment may be getting to these players here late. Maybe fatigue is playing a factor. Up by 2 still. 2.5 minutes left. McDaniels with the ball again. They're going to McDaniels every trip. He makes that one. Tied ball game now. Michael Jordan with the ball. Anthony Edwards sticking him. Mike driving it in. Ants, great defense. Mike going nowhere. Kicks it out. Mike with it again. Mike in the post against Anthony Edwards. He's going nowhere. He's locked up. Zach LaVine with the ball now trying to save Mike. LaVine gets the screen. His step back jumper. It's no good. Minnesota with the ball now. They're going to McDaniels again. They love going to him. This time it's Ant. Ant driving it in. Kicks it out. Mike Conley. Randall again for 3. Bang! Chicago now trailing. They just had a lead. They cannot seem to score though. Michael Jordan driving it in. Anthony Edwards is smothering him. Mike cannot score. Edwards in the fast break. Anthony Edwards, the slam! Chicago now trailing by 5. We are seeing a Michael Jordan meltdown. Down 2-1 in the series. He can't seem to score. They're not even going to him no more in the clutch. Kobe White with the ball. Kicks it to LaVine. Enough space for a 3. Wow. Edwards ended up missing a lay in transition. Michael Jordan now kicks it out to Kobe White. Kobe driving in. Vucevic's slam gets him one in 3. Huge opportunity for Minnesota here to possibly hit a dagger. Anthony Edwards gets some separation with the fast move. Bulls timeout. So far late in this game, Mike has been silenced, and with his team trailing 5 in the timeout, we'll have to see if he can pull it together for the win, or will Anthony Edwards and the Wolves take a daunting 3-1 lead in the finals. With 44 seconds left in the game, down by 5, Chicago's gonna have to go fast, and they have to score this possession if they want a chance. Kobe White though, wide open for 3 1/4. It rattles in. Now they're only trailing by 2 with 37 seconds left. A defensive stop here, and you have a chance in this match. Anthony Edwards at the top. Michael Jordan sticking him. Mike, great defense. Gobert's not going to shoot it. McDaniels again. They've been going to McDaniels a lot. Now they're at Rudy Gobert. This is exactly who you want shooting in a moment like this. Zach LaVine strips him. Off to the races. Michael Jordan, one man to beat. Anthony Edwards gets by him to help defense there. He doesn't slow it down. He forces it. Wow. And even though Jordan's collapse continues in the clutch, the Bulls still had hope as Mike Conley split the free throws. Now trailing by 3 with about 11 seconds to go, will the Bulls even bother drawing up a play for Mike? Or will they be going to one of their better three-point shooters late? With 11.6 left to go, no timeouts. This could be the Bulls' last chance in this match. Michael Jordan straight off the inbound. Bang! Mike drains it in! I didn't even think they were going to go to Michael Jordan right there, but he executes in the biggest shot. He's been missing, but he makes it in there. Anthony Edwards, his pull-up jumper. It's in! And gets it to go! No timeouts left for the Bulls. They have to push it. Kobe White, half-court heave. Oh, my Lord. The Wolves were now going up a strong 3-1 after the huge heroics from Ant, leaving Mike on the brink of elimination. And while he'd protect his home court in Game 5 and fight hard for 48 minutes to keep his season alive, it only delayed the inevitable, as the Wolves were closing this one out back at home, winning the NBA Finals after 6 games against the Bulls, officially handing Michael his first career Finals loss, and left questions on whether or not these goals are even achievable for Jordan, but there'd only be one way to find out, and that's by witnessing how Jordan bounces back the following season, where he was picking up from a strong sophomore year and building on in his 3rd season in the league. For the 2nd time in a row, MJ was boosting his averages all to new career highs, continuing to improve year to year in an effort to lead his team. But even with the strides Mike was taking, his team would actually end up with a worse record this year. Part of the issue may have been the fact that Vucevic left to join Brooklyn, but still, the Bulls were signing Hartenstein to fill that void, who frankly was a much better defender to give Chicago paint protection. The issue, however, was that Hartenstein couldn't space the floor the way Vucevic did, which tightened the court for the rest of the team. Even still, most of the court remained, and the Bulls are finding a way to win. Against the Pacers in round 1, the ability to stretch the floor was the last thing on their mind. Michael was still finding success in the mid-range and around the rim, even with the additional defensive pressure added with the loss in Nikola. He and the Bulls were easily getting by the Pacers and were looking to make another run for the finals, which looked to be well on track because in the second round, they found themselves yet again easily winning, this time against a young Pistons team, but the real challenge was awaiting next. The Cleveland Cavaliers and their 2 7-footers were waiting in the conference finals. This is where the Bulls' spacing woes would really come to surface. With the 2 paint protectors roaming the interior, it would become incredibly challenging to score inside the perimeter. When you pair that with the fact that the Bulls' perimeter defenders outside of Jordan were underwhelming, it would be no surprise what the outcome of the series would be, leaving Jordan and his Bulls with yet another failed season, but that loss was about to change everything. Jordan knew that the team wasn't going to suddenly have spacing overnight, which meant the only way to combat the weakness was to push his game even further beyond, to the point where it didn't make a difference if he had spacing or not. He needed to develop his shot creating to the point that he could score over multiple defenders. He needed to perfect his finishing to the point that physicality or shot blocking attempts didn't disrupt his shots in the paint. Luckily for Chicago fans, Mike was doing exactly that. Yet again, for the 4th time now, pushing his game past the level he was at the season prior, improving on his efficiency and advancing every aspect of his game, which in turn would give him the well-deserved recognition that he earned. In year 4, Mike gets his first MVP, and I think that's when he got it in real life as well. It was year 4. Nonetheless, he is one step closer to proving that he deserves to be here in the modern NBA. But that didn't mean the playoffs would be easy, because they were facing the Cavaliers yet again. Just like last year, the Cavs were playing a huge lineup that would make things difficult for the Bulls inside the 3-point line. Of course, this year, Mike was better prepared and he was training for this exact moment. Unlike last year, where they were getting embarrassed, this time around, the series was brutally competitive, trading game after game, leading to a stalemate after 4. All for Cleveland to take charge in a pivotal Game 5. On the road, but unfazed by the pressure, Donovan Mitchell was heating up fast and draining in 3 after 3, which was more than MJ could keep up with by shooting 2, leading to Cleveland taking a 3-2 advantage, which Jordan has been in this situation before, against the Wolves in the finals a couple years back. And unfortunately for him, history was repeating itself, because facing elimination in Game 6, the results wouldn't favor Mike. Well, Mike's MVP season is being derailed here by the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are winning Game 6. They're going to be headed back to the NBA Finals yet again. Mike draws a foul, a little bit too late for it. But it was only a matter of time before Jordan got right back to those conference finals for another chance to win a ring. During the 2029 regular season, the name Jordan was synonymous with dominance. He was destroying everything in his path, and I feel sorry for anyone with the misfortune of having to guard him. With another fantastic season completed on his resume, he would be taking home his second straight MVP, bolstering his argument for being able to compete in the modern NBA, but he still needed a ring. Getting into the postseason, the Bulls were established enough at this point that the expectation was for them to make a deep postseason run, easily winning the first couple of rounds until, you guessed it, the Cleveland Cavaliers for yet another rematch in the conference finals. And this time, the world was fully expecting Mike to finally overcome this hurdle, which by the way he was playing in game 1, that could easily be the case, with him pouring in over 40 points. But unfortunately for him, Donovan Mitchell was just as hot, also scoring at a ridiculously high level, and despite most analysts taking the Bulls in this series, Cleveland was sticking around. It's looking like game 1 of the conference finals is gonna go the distance. 2 minutes left. It's still down to the wire. Whoever wins here is gonna have a ton of momentum in this series. Boozer with the ball in the corner. Michael Jordan's choked in a pass, gonna be clutch here. Williams does not shoot that wide open three. It's looking like they're trying to get to the Mike. He's got the off-ball screen. Mike pulls the trigger from deep. That rims out. The Cavaliers on a fast break now. Donovan Mitchell has a wide open court with Mike on him. One-on-one. Michael Jordan. Donovan Mitchell gets out his hand, swings it over to McKnight. I don't know who half these guys are a couple years in the future. Not sure who half these players are. That's a bad shot from McKnight, though. Michael Jordan has it now. He's driving in on Donovan Mitchell. Donovan, a couple of fakes, nowhere to go. Boozer, quick trigger, bang! Boozer's able to give the Bulls the 2-point lead here late with 1.5 minutes remaining. Donovan Mitchell now. Michael Jordan, a big stop here will go a long way. Donovan Mitchell getting some separation. Steps back for 3. It's out. Off to the races. Mike, one man to beat on the fast break. Driving it in. The leg extends the lead to 4. Cleveland now on this end. Down by 4 with 1 minute left. They can steal one on the road in Chicago if they can make something happen here late. Donovan Mitchell, that same pick and roll again. He's driving it in the foul. Donovan Mitchell does hit both of those free throws. Michael Jordan now with the ball, up by 2. This is where big time players make big time plays. Mike drives right by Mike to the paint. He almost ended that man's career, but it's off. Only up by 2 now. Cavaliers have a chance to take the lead or tie it. This guy's in the paint, slowing it down. Donovan Mitchell with it now. He wants this ball. He wants this shot. 10 seconds left on the shot clock. 40 seconds left on the game clock. Donovan Mitchell receiving the screen. One-on-one with Mike. He throws down low. Hartenstein with the steal. Mike off to the races. He's slowing it down. Smart move. Mike driving it in. Gives it a Boozer. Mike, what are we doing? He's got people jumping. Jordan, terrible shot. Mitchell to board. 21 seconds. They're not going to use the timeout. They're going for it. The win or the tie. McKnight driving in a Kobe White. He ties it. What a crazy sequence of events. On the one bright side, the Bulls have the ball. 16 seconds left. No shot clock. They have an opportunity to take the last shot of the game. They inbounded a Boozer. It's in the hands of Michael Jordan. Is he going to wait for the clock or is he going to go quick? Right now, it's looking like he's waiting. Size up Donovan Mitchell. Mike, one-on-one with Mitchell. One man to beat. Michael Jordan in the clutch. Driving it in. The dunk! It's good to take the lead. What a shot from Jordan to secure the 2-point lead. But there's still time left for the Cavaliers. 3.1 left on the clock. They're trying to get it inbounded. Then Michael Jordan steals it off the inbound for the win! What a play by Michael Jordan! After the last second heroics from Jordan on both ends of the floor, it finally felt like the Bulls could see a path to victory against Cleveland. That was all the confidence they needed for the entire team to be firing on all cylinders from there on out. They'd finally be overcoming the Cavs after winning this series in 5 to make it once again to the NBA Finals. They're facing the Grizzlies in the finals, and Ja and maybe Lauri Markkanen are the only real notable guys. You got a couple of young guys that were a couple years in the sim that we're seeing, but honestly, this team structure doesn't look too scary, which I may just have been right, because even though Morant was balling out of his mind, finishing at the rim with reckless abandon, it wasn't really enough to force the games in the Grizzlies' favor. Overall, Chicago was just flat out better, and that wasn't just from Jordan. Levine was one of the league's most efficient three-point shooters, who Zealous had developed into an excellent two-way role player. Cameron Boozer was one of the league's top young prospects, and Hartenstein played his role perfect as the center. This finals really didn't end up being any competition. The real challenge was the Cavaliers, and after overcoming that, it was smooth sailing. The Bulls were doing it. winning the series in 5 games, finally earning a championship for Jordan. But would he be the finals MVP? Well, yeah, he absolutely was. And he absolutely is capable of performing even in the modern super team era of basketball. But how about Shaq? What if we put him in the same challenge? Find out by clicking this video next.